Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is our inaugural first live stream broadcast for our series that is called Monday Mavericks. I don't even know if you know that, Maggie. That's what this is called.
No, I love that. I love that.
I do want to apologize. We're an hour late. I did put the on our Facebook feed that I had a feeling there was a time zone mix up, and
There
that's
completely
exactly what
was.
happens.
I'm really
And
sorry, everyone.
well, we're glad to be able to go live. Someone just commented I was getting worried. We're okay. I was getting worried too, to be honest.
Just the time zone problem. Sorry
I
about
was
that.
like, okay, she's not here. Something bad happened. And of course, my OCD brain went everywhere. But we're here now. Let me tell you just a little bit about what this series is, and we'll jump right into it. These are going to be a little bit shorter than the fireside chats because it's really a time to promote and elevate what people are doing within the community that's just out of the box. Because as you know, for OCD, and just before I get into that, this series was supposed to start right after the OCD Game Changers event in March, and then everything shut down. And so I kind of pushed this off to the side and started doing our fireside chats, which have been so amazing and so fun. But I just, as soon as Maggie wrote me and she was like, are we still going live? And I was like, yes, this is the perfect time to get this going, because this is what Game Changers is about right here. Giving the opportunity for people doing these incredible, innovative, things and projects and work and advocacy that's just independent thinking and out of the box. This is what Game Changers is. We want to make sure to give these people a platform, give their projects a way to integrate into your life if that's possible. And so every other Monday, well, the first and third Monday of every month, we're going to feature someone who's doing something really cool and someone who's partnered with us and is really inspiring. So that's what this series is about. So thank you for joining us. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Maggie and have her introduce herself.
Chrissy, thank you so much. I'm so inspired by Game Changers also. So I'm just really happy to be here. And again, it was completely a time zone problem on my part. So thank you for the hour late. Okay, so I am Dr. Maggie Perry. I'm a licensed psychologist in California, Maryland, and Illinois, which is where I run my group therapy program called huddle.care. And so huddle.care is 4 different components. It includes education on a weekly basis, community time, which is my favorite part of the program, and then small groups that meet several times a day and are in a membership fashion, so you can come to groups at any time. And then I also offer individual therapy. But I just want to highlight community time is my favorite part of the program because it's a time where about 15 to 20 people come and talk about the progress that they're making. And then we also go over educational topics. And I find it really inspiring.
Excellent. So I heard about you I think it was a year and a half ago, from Stuart Ralph of the OCD Stories. And he said, you need to check out this girl. She was on my podcast. She is incredible. And I went to Huddle Care and I was just like, it just feels like the wave of the future for people to be able to connect with other people who have OCD, as you and I have talked about before, being able to talk with people who just get it, being able to be in a group where people understand it and you don't have to feel like you don't belong, or you don't have to feel like that you're the outcast. What an innovative idea. So I want to start. Well, first I want to say Maggie was also at OCD Game Changers, our big event this year in March. And this was the last time anybody, I think, gathered at all and was able to really hug or do anything. Completely. And I remember even at the event, I was all like, whatever coronavirus. I even made a joke about it in the video at the beginning. And then now I'm like, wow, that was a bad error.
Lots of people did. Lots of people joked about it in the beginning, I think. Yeah.
So it was great to have you there. Tell everybody just really quick before we get into Huddle Care, what was it like with your experience at Game Changers?
Game Changers was amazing. I think everything that you just described is also applies to Game Changers. So it's really innovative to take both. I mean, IOCDF has been doing this for a while, but to take a conference time where both mental health care providers and the people that get those services can be together, learning kind of the same material, having experiences together, I think is just wonderful for the community and wonderful for the shame reduction. And so OCD Game Changers is obviously doing that. I think on the therapist end, the time before where we, like both advocates and therapists, get to meet and talk about our ideas and brainstorm and be inspired by each other. It's just really innovative and was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, individuals that are invited to come speak at Game Changers, we spend a full weekend together. And the day before the event, we actually spend the whole day doing mastermind groups, being able to get to know each other and just really build a bond of support and networking, and also be able to give each other input on obstacles we may hit or things that we might need some support in our own project. So it's a really special time. So
it was really special. Yeah.
Speaking of special, tell us all about huddle.care. So you just mentioned all kinds of things. There's like three things going on and everything. So explain to everybody who may not know what it is that huddle.care is.
Sure. Well, I actually want to start what it was inspired by, because I think it hits a couple of points that you were just describing. So my training was at the Anxiety and Stress Disorder Institute in Maryland. My predoctoral internship and postdoctoral fellowship was there. And one of the opportunities I loved the most was my Harm OCD group that I ran. And I just found, compared to the other anxiety disorders, this group was just so magical because of the shame reduction. So I think above and beyond anything that, or like what happens in individual therapy, the group therapy that's centered around topics that people either think that other people never experience or feel a lot of shame about, the group therapy there was just amazing. So from there, I went out to California and started a in-person private practice, like many people do. And then I moved quickly to Illinois. And so at that point, I had the idea to kind of go online, given that I could with a number of different licenses in different states. And so that was about 3.5 years ago that I started using Zoom. So I feel like I was out in front on the whole Zoom idea. I mean, lots of people use Zoom, but like using it regularly for mental health treatment, I think is something I've been doing for years now. And so really the way that I came up with both community time and the small groups is, I think most mental health providers know that group therapy is amazing for a number of different reasons, but it's really hard to schedule in a way that you can find people that all have the same problem, get them in the same location at the same time, and keep that going on a regular basis. So what I really wanted to do was find a way to offer people more than one time to meet with people that had very similar issues. And because my training was in OCD and I just love Harm OCD in particular, that's the direction that I took the program. And then I found that many people enjoy the flexibility of being able to come to group at many different times. And then community time honestly started as an attempt to allow new members to see who else was in the community, and just have like a good way of coming into the group. And then over time, because we start with like, what are you doing well? It's a really great way to be introduced to a lot of people for the first time, especially if you're feeling like you don't have a lot of hope or your process has been really perfectionistic. Just like thinking back on the week and saying like, even if everything else was really hard, this is one moment where I related effectively to my OCD, I think can just be really helpful in overcoming perfectionism, but also point you in the direction of what types of skills you want to generalize. And so actually it gives me great information. When I hear what you're doing well, then I can help you generalize those skills. And I think that's there's not a lot of other treatment programs that I'm aware of that kind of start there. So I feel like it's a special part of the community that I made. I think the other part that's education is just that I like to have everybody having the same language. So each week I send out a newsletter that teaches people different concepts so that once you're in the program for a couple of weeks or months, you have shared language with other people that are also in the program.
I get your newsletter and I see it and read it every time it comes through.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, Maggie, walk us through the process of what it looks like if somebody was wanting to join huddle.care and maybe they were like, oh, I'm just nervous or I'm scared and I'm not sure what it's going to be like.
Yeah, so right now we're residents of California, Illinois, or Maryland. Hopefully we'll have residents of other states could also be part of Huddle in the future. But if you live in one of those locations, you can sign up for a free consultation or just on my newsletter through huddle.care. So you go to my website, huddle.care. You can sign up for the newsletter and or just enter your email and you'll get an email that gives you the opportunity to sign up for a free consultation. So I talk to everybody that comes through just to make sure that you're a good fit and to answer any questions that you have about the program. And then assuming that you're a good fit, I introduce you to my electronic health record system so that you sign all the typical informed consent paperwork that you would at any other doctor's office. And then you're ready to go. So you can come to community time that happens 3 times a week, and then small groups happen about 12 times a week, and you'll have access to the schedule and be able to sign up at any time. The program costs $200 a month for as many groups as you want.
Oh, that's excellent. You said California, Maryland, and Illinois. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, I'm going to put that up. So people, there we go. Is that right? Did I spell everything right? Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Great, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Tell us about community time. You said this is one of your favorite parts of Huddle Care, and I'm really eager to hear about what that is as well.
Yeah, so in the beginning, when there's about 15 people there, everybody says a small intro about what they're experiencing. So this will be, this could be something like I'm experiencing harm OCD, and specifically it's related to, I'm afraid that if I use knives, then I might hurt myself or someone else. So it's not in, everybody just has their first name and then they de-identify any other detail. So something like I experience harm OCD and it's specifically about harming my family members, doesn't really say that much about where you live or what the rest of your life circumstances are. And I think it's a really unique way to get to know people. Like, you don't know where they are or anything else about them except that they have thoughts just like yours. So that can be really nice to hear, especially out of a number of different people. And then everybody also says a moment that they related well to it. So in this example, it could be something like, despite being afraid, I chose to chop up the vegetables with my partner standing right next to me. And then I would say, so it sounds like you understood that exposure to that particular fear was going to help you have more willingness for when you had intrusive thoughts about that, and then also cope with the anxiety that comes with it. So that would be the type of thing that I would reinforce. And then if anybody else in the group hadn't heard that language, we would be able to talk about it. And so everybody kind of says examples like that. And then, for instance, if the topic of the week is something like perfectionism, I might give like a 2 to 5 minute description of what perfectionism is. And then it's kind of like an applied lecture. So people will give examples of how perfectionism shows up in their life and ask questions about it. And sometimes everybody talks, sometimes only about half the group talks. It depends on the topic. And then everybody commits to something. So in terms of commitments in my program, we do both functional and distress tolerance goals. So a functional goal could be something like, I'm going to make sure I get out of bed, every day or I'm going to get out of bed and take a shower every day this week, if that's something that would increase your functioning and is deserving of commitment from you. Mm-hmm. Or a distress tolerance goal would be something like, I'm committing to my exposure and response prevention homework that I've either discussed with my individual therapist or we've discussed in small group. So either of those commitments are relevant for community time and actually all other groups. And I think on that note, something that I want to describe is that people are all on the spectrum of severity in what they experience. So many of the people in group also are in individual, but people use it from basically a digital IOP all the way down to maintenance. So some people come several times a week, have really specific goals about what they're trying to achieve, and maybe are getting that more tailored work with their individual therapist, but then use the small groups for accountability, motivation, and to ask any questions they have. Other people go to individual therapy once a week and like group once a week or community time once a week. And again, they're looking for us answering any questions they have, accountability and motivation from other people. Oftentimes hearing the examples from other people will help people have aha moments of like, oh, I didn't realize that was also part of my OCD, but now that you're mentioning that, I also have that happening for me.
Right.
So that can be really helpful. And then finally, some people use it for maintenance. So when they're out of individual therapy, but they know that their OCD is a chronic intermittent condition that lasts a lifetime, then staying in something that helps you with maintenance can help you get out in front of any other episodes you might experience if you're under a lot of stress. And then at that point, you could go back into individual or just stay in huddle and up the amount of care you get. But I think besides the harm OCDs groups that like inspired my program, and the structure is specifically around the challenge of scheduling, I think the other reason that I started the program is I know that OCD is a chronic intermittent condition, and it can be really hard to know when to come in and out of therapy, and it's a really expensive endeavor. So it's meant to be a cheaper option during maintenance that helps you get out in front of additional episodes.
I love that. And so for community, is it unlimited, however many people want to join?
I cap it at 20.
Oh, okay.
And I think the ideal group is more like 15 or 16, just so that we have enough time to cover the topics too.
And so people sign up ahead of time, or they just show up?
Yeah, they sign up ahead of time.
Oh, okay. And you have community every single week, several times a week?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. So question for you, just from my own curiosity that I just didn't know and didn't realize I didn't know, is do you do just the huddle.care groups, or do you also have the individual practice?
I also have an individual practice, and some people that are in huddle are also in individual.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be great, because then you know what's going on all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. Okay, let's get Paul wrote in, and hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Margaret Sisson joined. She's part of our board. Hey, Margaret. And then Mike Hetty joined. Did you work? You
yeah,
said
I worked with Hetty.
Baltimore, and I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. That's where Mike works. And he was on the fireside chat last week.
I know. Yeah, it's great.
So that's amazing. So hello everyone, and hi Susie, and hi Jasmine and Thomas. Thank you everybody for being here. We are going to get a question from Paul Kitzmiller. That's such a great last name, Paul. Every time I see your name pop up, I'm like, Kitzmiller. I say it out loud just to be transparent. I do. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put this question up here for us. Here's a question from Paul. It is, Chrissy, in case I cannot return for the live podcast, hopefully you're still here, Paul. Otherwise, it will be on the OCD Gamechangers Facebook feed. We'll also post it on our YouTube channel. Can you ask Maggie if individual therapy alone is missing an important complementary piece that group therapy adds to the treatment process? Maggie is the one that can tell you the answer to this for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I think the additional factors is the reason that I love groups. So the universality is one thing, realizing when you hear other people talk about what their private experiences, so what goes on in their mind, many people immediately feel closer to humanity in general and less alone. I think with OCD in particular, because it doesn't feel reasonable to be having the thoughts that you're having, hearing other people going through the same thing immediately feels more normalizing, validating, and reduces shame. Even hearing other people experience shame can also reduce shame and build compassion. And many people talk about how it's easier to feel compassion towards other people, which challenges their difficulty feeling compassion towards themselves. I think also motivation and accountability can, when therapists try to hold people accountable, sometimes the reaction is something like, you have no idea how challenging this is and how much I'm suffering. And so when everybody's doing it together, I think that can be a really positive way to make people more motivated and feel more accountable.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. This is, I mean, in doing peer support, this is one of the things that I do in general, even on an individual level, is to help say to somebody, I get it. I've had those thoughts too. It's such a motivational, well, if she gets it and she was able to do therapy, then maybe I can do it too. There's so much power in the Me too, when it
Yes,
comes
I
to
totally agree.
OCD,
I
for
totally
sure.
agree.
So before we get to final thoughts, is there anything that you think people should know about Huddle Care, or things that you really feel are important about what you do, even just like personal stuff of what it means to you? Uh, Let us know.
Yeah, so what it means to me is that I think that it keeps me feeling really positive about other people's change and the capacity to change when I just hear so many people hour after hour, day after day, committed to the process of change. And so actually, I'm just going to jump right into my last thoughts, and
Right.
that is, in OCD treatment, we often talk about uncertainty as an opportunity, and I think the one of the reasons that uncertainty is such an opportunity is that that change is the most certain thing that you can have in life. And so like the thing that we're actually certain about is that life will change. We will have different thoughts, we will have different feelings, we will have different sensations, different life circumstances will come upon us. And so if you can approach that change, that certainty of change, as an opportunity, then you really have a chance at hope, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And hope is where it's at.
Yeah, I think so
Hope
too.
is where it's at. I'm going to like hashtag that after this.
I love that.
So Maggie, tell us where we can find out more about you and Huddle Care. And if people want to get in touch with you, what can they do?
Sure. So you can go to huddle.care to find out more about huddle.care, which is, I specifically called it huddle.care so that you'd know the website. The other thing is I have a podcast. So Tell Me What You're Proud Of is my podcast. And that
Oh,
is,
oops, sorry. Hold on. I'll change that. Sorry.
yeah, no problem. So Tell Me What You're Proud Of is 3 episodes with an actual client talking about the progress that they make, and then also a consultation with a colleague where we discuss the person's progress and really how proud we are of the progress that they're making. So that's another way to get a sense of what huddle.care is like, is hearing me talk with actual members about what their process is like. So to get in touch with me, the best thing that you could do would be to sign up for my newsletter, and then I will be in touch with you from there.
And tell me the name of your podcast again. I'm just writing it down to make sure that I put it in the comments.
So it's Tell Me What You're Proud Of
Oh
with Dr.
yeah.
Maggie Perry.
How's it going, by the way?
It's going great. Thank you
Because
for
you
asking.
just started it recently.
Yeah, I think I just launched in March, right around the time as OCD
Yes.
Gamechangers. So
Yeah,
so
I think
far,
it was like right after it, or like the day right around there.
yes, I think so too. And it seems to be going great so far. So thank you for asking.
Good. Good. Well, Maggie, thank you so much for being here. I know we were late, but you know what? I was telling Maggie before that Dr. Stephen Phillipson kicked off our fireside chats, and we were 35 or 40 minutes late because we couldn't figure out how to get him on to the platform. And those have been successful. And I know that this is going to be too. And Maggie, thank you for kicking us off on this really important and amazing series. And also, thank you for being part of the Game Changer family, and
Oh,
also for everything that you do for our OCD community.
thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody that came out today. We will be keeping this on our Game Changers feed, OCD Game Changers at Facebook, and also our YouTube channel. Although I am slow on the uptake getting stuff uploaded on OCD Game Changers. I try every weekend, but then I'm inundated with emails. But I will continue to put videos up. This is such a great community we're creating. It definitely inspires hope. It definitely inspires motivation. And also what we want to do is help inspire you to become your own advocate. What can you do? What do you want to do to help do independent, innovative, creative thinking to be able to really help solve the crucial issues that we're facing in our community of awareness, access to treatment, barriers to treatment. Those things are so important to our community. People like Maggie and all of the other guests that we'll have on in the coming weeks. We're going to start talking about what we're doing, and hopefully that will inspire you to speak out, because I know it can be tough sometimes, but we are here to support you, walk alongside you, and we will see you in this series in 2 weeks with Miss Natasha Daniels. So again, Maggie, thank you for joining us today, and thank you to everyone who joined us on our live stream, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.